Alright, so with the current events of the My Hero Academia story, things look to be shaping up in some pretty interesting ways. The end of chapter 287 certainly left us with quite a bit to consider in regards to the remaining executives of the Paranormal Liberation Front as they ride atop the back of Gigantomachia. Firstly, I'd like us to turn our attention to Toga, as she brings up a sort of moral contradiction on the part of the heroes that she would very much like to better understand. Following the death of the villain twice, Toga, having been one of the closest people to him, is very much perturbed by his absence and unfortunate demise. Toga, being the deranged definition of a hopeless romantic, is someone that holds affection for others very deeply. And this is something that is quite thoroughly ingrained in her personality and mentality, and so the feelings of grief she may be experiencing would certainly be all-encompassing. Since the death of Twice, we've received troubling shots of Toga here and there, but now finally, we have her general intentions expressed to us. In this world of heroics, the protection of others and general safety of the populace is a huge priority for those who take on the responsibility. However, Twice was killed by a hero, Hawks, and so it begs the question as to whether or not such a thing is acceptable behavior for someone sworn to protect. And it's certainly a worthwhile question, as it's a contemplation we all shared when Hawks actually dealt the final blow. With all that's gone on around her recently, it seems as though Toga is far more invested in the hero versus villain conflict than ever before. She initially seemed to join with our villains out of admiration for Stain being a fangirl and such, but it wasn't as deep as it is for Dabi or for Spinner, and so it's very fascinating to see her actually have these questions formulated now. But if I'm a hero in all this, that's the last thing I want to hear from Toga or any of these villains for that matter. These are mass murderers we're talking about that have declared war on the entirety of society, wreaking indiscriminate havoc as they currently move on the back of a behemoth currently tearing through several cities full of pedestrians and innocents. If that doesn't warrant lethal force, then nothing does. Even the former symbol of peace, All Might, once intended for a killing blow against All for One. And lest we forget, Twice was at the very least provided a peaceful resolution and ultimatum, one which he refused and responded to with overt aggression and violence. And sure, Toga doesn't know this, but even still, if I were in the position of a hero in this world, I wouldn't even entertain this sort of conversation. But that's fine because Toga intends to specifically address her questions towards Deku and Uraraka, two characters she especially adores and has romantic feelings for. Now, Deku, at least right now, isn't exactly in any position to answer questions like this, let alone move his jaw properly, but Uraraka, on the other hand, hasn't really had a moment in this entire arc despite being the main heroine of the story. And to be fair, as we've established in a video beforehand, she hasn't really received a standout moment since her fight against Bakugo during the sports festival. And so the possibility of her being the one to face these questions seems, for right now at least, to be the most probable course of events. And boy, would a fight between these two be really interesting right now, as the two have developed in ways we've yet to see fully realized just yet. Uraraka, on one hand, has received what appear to be several upgrades and updates to her hero costume that I really want to see in action. Toga, on the other hand, is absolutely terrifying, not only in how she typically fights and maneuvers, being on par with, if not even better than, Eraserhead when it comes to acrobatics, but following the Meta Liberation Army arc, we know that she now can copy the quirks of those she transforms into, which opens up a whole can of worms that is just insane. That is crazy. But beyond how broken that sounds, it's important to note that we still don't know the specific details of this usage. I mean, just thinking about it, maybe she can only utilize the quirks of people she has especially strong affection towards on some Persona 5 unlock stuff. Or maybe using their quirks causes the duration of her transformation to dwindle down far quicker. But even if that's to be the case, she still is really scary, I mean, the League was pretty smart when it came to capitalizing on the quirk of twice on multiple fronts, and so what better way to ask these questions than to use the quirk of the man that inspired them to begin with. As far as I'm concerned, Uraraka is vastly outmatched here, but if her fight against Bakugo was any indication, then we know better than to doubt her when faced against such adversity. Besides all that, we have the brief comments of Dabi that are most certainly unsettling. As when, once again, traveling atop Gigantomachia, Dabi, in conversation with Skeptic, spoke of prepping for their meeting with the #1 hero Endeavor and their leader, Shigaraki. And despite how little I care for Dabi, at the very least I'd like to think that what he does ultimately has a purpose behind it. And for him to be talking to Skeptic in particular here is very interesting. Skeptic being an incredible intelligence operative that we see here with his laptop. This is the man that single-handedly kept the Daika City incident under wraps and kept the merger of the League and Liberation Army shrouded in mystery. So for Dabi to be addressing him specifically, saying that this is their chance to destroy the entire establishment, is terrifyingly telling. The ability to control the narrative is major and can serve to change the situation as we know it. This could be so many things. A display of just how pitiful the so-called #1 hero is, as he's not really engaged in this fight any longer, the debut of the symbol of fear, Shigaraki, or even the exposure of One for All to the masses. What Dabi's currently playing at is a dangerous thing that I am very much looking forward to, along with everything the League has to offer to this fight and to the war at large. And the crazy thing is that communications have been shut off for so long that they don't even really know the full extent of the situation at hand. And so although they may be rocking the boat tremendously with their proceedings, they don't even know the current landscape that they are shaking. This is really enjoyable stuff. And if you enjoy what we have to offer here and would like to have even more, be sure to head on over to the Plot Armor Patreon, where by supporting us, you may have access to a great many benefits, including the artwork we color ourselves for our thumbnails and such. And if you'd like to keep up to date with all our anime and manga conversations, My Hero Academia or otherwise, be sure to subscribe to the channel, because when it comes to bringing you some of the best My Hero Academia content on the platform, Plot Armor has you covered. As always, I am Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.